Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. US President Donald Trump rules out further trade talks with India until the tariff dispute is resolved. New Delhi is staring at 50% tariffs with effect from the 27th of August after US President escalated the rhetoric over Delhi importing Russian oil. Sharp cuts on Dalal Street, Sensex and Nifty down for the sixth week in a row. This is the longest losing streak in more than 5 years. Gold prices hit record highs after Financial Times reports the US has imposed tariffs on imports of 1 kilo gold bars, a boost for cryptocurrencies. President Trump signs an executive order clearing the way for retirement funds to invest in cryptos and private equity. India's largest bank, SBI, reports first quarter numbers largely in line with estimates. Profits rise 13% even as net interest income remains flat. Asset quality worsens marginally. Supreme Court hears the Bhushan Steel insolvency case. Banks seek payments of more than 6,000 crore rupees from JSW Steel. This includes the earnings during the insolvency proceedings and interest cost for the delays. Entity linked to the promoters of Bharti Airtel offloads nearly 1% stake in the company worth 9,300 crore rupees. Airtel shares come under pressure as entities linked to the promoters have sold nearly 2% stake since November last year. Leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, demands the release of voter polls and video recordings from the last 10 years. This after accusing the Election Commission of colluding with the BJP. Election Commission asks Gandhi to sign a formal declaration or apologize. BJP accuses Congress of spreading misinformation. Supreme Court admits a petition challenging the sedition provisions under the new criminal code, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. The petition alleges government has brought back the sedition provisions which were stayed by the apex court in 2021. Israel's security cabinet approves a plan to take military control of Gaza City, marks a major escalation in the war with Hamas. UK's Prime Minister condemns the move, says it will only lead to more bloodshed. United Nations warns of catastrophic consequences. Right, the top story this evening, US President Donald Trump has said that there will be no trade negotiations with India until the dispute over tariffs is resolved. His remarks come days after Washington escalated the rhetoric against India, imposing 25% additional tariffs over the already prevalent 25% for buying Russian oil. India now stares at a 50% total tariffs, which come into effect on the 27th of August as things stand.
Increase trade negotiations, since you've announced the 50% tariff?
No, not until we get it resolved.
And Brazil and India are facing the highest tariff levies among the BRICS nations at 50% each. However, Brazil is at a lesser disadvantage since United States runs a trade surplus with the country. Indian and Brazilian officials also confirmed yesterday that Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Brazilian President Lula spoke over phone. Ratings agency Moody's has warned the US tariffs to the tune of 50% may hurt India's manufacturing sector. It has also warned that any decision to curtail imports of Russian oil could be disruptive to economic growth as well. Parikshit Luthra joins us now. Parikshit, Moody's raising the red flag for India over US tariffs.
The wider tariff gap compared with APAC economies would hurt India's manufacturing sector. That's the latest analysis coming in from Moody's. The ratings agency says that a 50% tariff rate will widen the gap between India and other economies in Asia Pacific with 15 to 20% rates. Going forward, India's response and outcome of talks will determine the impact on India's growth, inflation and external position. Moody's experts have noted that India's purchase of Russian oil at below global prices has helped insulate inflation from global commodity price movements, and future purchases of Russian oil at 50% tariffs would slow down real GDP growth in FY26 by 0.3% from current forecast of 6.3%. Also, a larger oil import bill on account of non-Russian oil purchases would widen the current account deficit, and weaker tariff competitiveness will undermine investment flows to India. However, Moody's expects India to continue focusing on gradual fiscal and debt consolidation. However, India continues to negotiate with key allies and nations including Russia, Brazil and China. NSA Ajit Doval was in Russia this week and he called on President Putin. PM Modi is going to China later this month for the SCO summit. Just yesterday, President Lula dialed Prime Minister Modi amidst the tariff storm. Both Brazil and India are staring at 50% tariffs. Both leaders agreed to defend multilateralism. President Lula and Prime Minister Modi discussed ways to deal with unilateral tariffs and also discussed closer integration in current challenging environment.
All right, thank you, Parikshit, for that. Moving on, the United States Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick has said that the Trump administration is likely to extend the China deadline for another 90 days. In an interview with Fox News, he said, "I think we are going to leave that to the trade team and to the president to make those decisions. But it feels likely that they are going to come to an agreement and extend that for another 90 days, end quote. He added that President Trump has also signaled progress on a China deal. On to the day's market action now. The market closed at the day's low with all frontline indices ending over 1% lower. Nifty slipped below the 24,400 mark while all sectoral indices ended in the red. And Sensex and Nifty for the week fell for the sixth straight week, making this the longest losing streak in 5 years. Over 50% of the stocks on the Nifty 50 index posted losses this week. Broader markets also ended the week in the red. Surbhi Upadhyay joins us now with a market wrap.
The main market issue is FPI outflows. Will we see a big exodus of FPIs? Now look at the numbers so far. In any case, July was weak. We saw outflows of almost 18,000 crores. August so far, the outflow number has been 12,400 crores. And so far for the year, including the months of January, we are already at a negative figure, outflows of over 1 lakh crore rupees from the equity market. Now let's talk about the weak sectors. I mean, for the week as a whole, most parts of the market are down. There's nothing that's holding up the bull's case. Nifty Pharma taking the big hit, 2.5% lower. The healthcare index lower. FMCG, high beta sectors like real estate down about 2%. Banks are not working. Financials also on the lower side. And even the IT sector was down about 0.5%. So no place to hide as such. The only sectors that have shown green this week would be the PSU banking index. That's done actually pretty well. The capital market space and some gains on auto, thanks to the rise in Hero MotoCorp this week, and the metals part of the market. Now let me come to Friday. Friday itself was a very negative trading session because the Nifty finally reversed all of Thursday's gains. And in fact, it broke Thursday's intraday low. Thursday was the day when the market was reacting to that 50% tariff announcement. Now, the losers of the day in terms of the Nifty included stocks from across the spectrum. Adani Enterprises, Bharti Airtel, where a large block deal also happened. IndusInd Bank, Shriram Finance from the financial space, Hindalco, Axis Bank, Reliance Industries, Hero Moto itself reversing some of the earlier gains of the week. So you can see it's cutting across sectoral lines. The gainers, some buying in NTPC, Titan after numbers doing well, and maybe some gains on HDFC Life and Dr. Reddy. So not too many places to hide. The mid-cap market was worse off. Big declines coming in over here. PG Electroplast has cut its guidance for the full year. The market absolutely did not like it. Stock was down over 20%. It took Dixon down with it. The names from the defense pack were very weak. Stocks like Mazgaon, Data Patterns down. Kalyan Jewellers, despite a very good set of numbers for the first quarter, sliding 8%. Coforge weak because of some issues with one of their recently acquired companies. And Biocon was down 5%. The gainers, not too many names to count, but some positive earnings reactions on Friday included Global Health, Kalpataru Projects, RateGain, and some of the new listings are still working very well. Sri Lotus Developers, Sai Life Sciences, these stocks managed some gains on Friday. The market is weak, the market is nervous, and it's going to be tracking those global tariff negotiations, geopolitical developments very, very carefully going forward.
All right, thank you, Surbhi, for that. From equities to commodities now, gold futures climbed to a record high. This after the Financial Times reported that the United States had imposed tariffs on imports of 1 kg gold bars. 1 kilo bars are the most common form traded on COMEX, the world's largest gold futures market. Meanwhile, spot gold stayed on track for a second straight weekly gain on tariff turmoil and hopes that the US Fed will cut interest rates in September. US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order allowing cryptocurrencies and alternative assets to be included in the country's 401k retirement plans. The move could unlock trillions in savings for non-traditional investments, a boost for asset managers. However, critics warn that this move may expose retirees to higher risks. All right, let's cut across to the Union Cabinet briefing, where Union Minister Ashwini Vaishnav is addressing the media.
सैंक्शन हुए I'll take questions now and we'll go. एक थोड़ा सा अलग इस बार लेते हैं. पहले लेफ्ट का पूरा ले लें, फिर सेंटर पूरा ले लें, फिर बाद में राइट ले लेते हैं. ऐसा करने से बेनिफिट होगा कि एक तरफ देखना रहता है, फिर ढूंढना इजी हो जाता है. ऐसा करें? ओके, ओके विद ऑल. दीपक चलेगा? सुजीत.
Thank you, sir.
आइए लेफ्ट से चालू करते हैं. लेफ्ट में हम फर्स्ट रो, सेकंड रो, थर्ड रो, फोर्थ रो इस तरह से चलेंगे. ठीक है?
Thank you, ma'am.
वैसे आपका राइट है, मेरा लेफ्ट है.
Exactly. I hope I'm audible. Good evening. This is Sapna from CNBC-TV18. Two questions. One, of course, on the 30,000 odd crore compensation for OMC is also taking care of the fact that the LPG cylinders have been highly subsidized in the Indian market in favor of the consumers. That's one. Second, sir, so just wanted to understand that, there is around 41 to 42 odd thousand crores had been the rough under recoveries OMCs. 30,000 has been given. Any kind of a logic that has gone in onto this number, and when are the funds likely to be released? That's one. And second, sir, a broader question on the Trump tariffs, the 25 plus 25%. Any discussion that was held in the cabinet? Thank you, sir.
अंडर रिकवरीज का कोई अमाउंट है आपके पास? नहीं, माइक की जरूरत नहीं. तो अभी कैबिनेट में व्हाट वी हैव डिसाइडेड इज 30,000 crore rupees का, because this is the amount which is attributable to the affordable LPG for households. इसके अलावा this number keeps fluctuating depending upon the market price and many other factors. So this is the number which has been approved. The second part of your question, whatever has been discussed in the cabinet is placed before you. So I'll request that we limit the questions to the points which are presented. ये तो जल्दी हो जाता है.
47.
Right, time for a short break now. Coming up next, Leader of Opposition in Lok Sabha, Rahul Gandhi, demands the release of voter rolls and video recordings from the last 10 years. Election Commission asks Gandhi to sign a formal declaration or apologize. Details when we return. Welcome back. In Earnings Corner, State Bank of India's first quarter earnings were largely in line with estimates. Profits rose 13%, while net interest income remained flat on an annual basis. Asset quality worsened marginally on a sequential basis. An entity linked to the promoters of Bharti Airtel offloaded nearly 1% stake through block deals today. Now, Indian Continent Investment sold 0.8% stake in the telecom company worth around 9,300 crore rupees. The transaction follows the sale of smaller lots, adding up to a 2% shareholding since November last year. Shares of Airtel came under pressure in trade today. AU Small Finance Bank received in-principle approval from the Reserve Bank to transition into a universal bank, the first full-fledged banking license in nearly a decade. The move will allow AU to issue larger loans, serve more customers and set up subsidiaries. The regulator has given the bank 18 months to complete the restructuring. Speaking with CNBC-TV18, the bank's MD and CEO Sanjay Agarwal said that the 18-month period doesn't guarantee his tenure and that he will have to reapply for it on the order of transferring promoter shareholdings to a non-operative financial holding company. Agarwal added that the structure benefits him, but there can be a challenge on the tax front.
On the face of it, that it benefits me personally because my structure around holding is with me, my personal name and my family name, which is not that great in my opinion because it does not free me up, right? So I think the structure is quite progressive in my opinion, but the only challenge would be that how my whole tax angle will play out, right? So let me figure out. Okay. But for me, whatever regulator asks me, I will do that.
Lenders of the debt-ridden Bhushan Power and Steel have sought payments of over 6,000 crore rupees from JSW Steel in Supreme Court. This includes the earnings during the insolvency proceedings and interest cost for the delays. The banks also told the apex court that JSW Steel was to blame for not implementing the plan in a time-bound manner. Shares of JSW Steel fell following the news. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. Escorts Kubota plans to launch 7 to 10 products annually across its 3 brands. Speaking with Parikshit Luthra, the company's management also maintained that short-term fluctuations due to US tariffs is not an immediate concern.
We have a very ambitious product development program, and every year for the next 4 to 5 years, we plan to launch between 7 to 10 products between the 3 brands for the domestic market and for the international market. So the current year, the monsoons are extremely positive. The government is also giving very positive signals on the minimum support price. And we are also increasing our presence in terms of our representation within the Indian market.
EV major Tesla has leased commercial space at New Delhi's AeroCity as it gears up to open a retail store. The lease documents show that Tesla will pay a monthly rent of 49 lakh rupees for 8,200 square feet of ground floor space. The deal carries a lock-in period of 36 months and a 15% rent escalation every 3 years. Parliament proceedings were disrupted today as India Bloc MPs staged protests over an alleged voter fraud and alleged irregularities in the Lok Sabha elections. Opposition MPs also continued their protests against the voter roll revision in Bihar. Both houses of Parliament were adjourned for the day. Right, the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, has repeated his allegation that the Election Commission colluded with the BJP to steal votes. Speaking at a rally in Bengaluru, he demanded that the Election Commission release data on voters' list and video recordings from the last 10 years. This comes a day after Gandhi cited an analysis of data from a Lok Sabha constituencies in Karnataka as proof of vote theft. Gandhi alleged that the Congress analysis showed that over 1 lakh votes were stolen in the Mahadevpura assembly segment using duplicate votes, fake addresses and bulk voters at a single address. The Election Commission has asked Rahul Gandhi to submit a formal declaration under the oath or apologize. Chief electoral officers from at least 3 states have also asked the leader of the opposition to submit the names of electors incorrectly included in the voters' roll. Addressing a press conference at the BJP headquarters, Union Minister Bhupendra Yadav said that the Congress is spreading misinformation by fabricating stories and targeting constitutional bodies.
1 लाख वोट इलेक्शन कमीशन और बीजेपी ने चोरी किया। मैं यहां इस स्टेट से गारंटी देके कह रहा हूं, हमारी मांग है कि इलेक्शन कमीशन हमें पूरी देश की इलेक्ट्रॉनिक वोटर लिस्ट दे। सिर्फ कर्नाटका में नहीं चोरी हुई है, पूरे हिंदुस्तान में सीटें चोरी हुई हैं।
कांग्रेस पार्टी एक विशेष प्रयास करके एक परिवार के लिए सिस्टेमेटिक ढंग से फेक नैरेटिव के आधार पे उसको छोटा करने का प्रयास कर रही है। और ये झूठ के नैरेटिव अपने आप ही जनता ने 3 बार ध्वस्त करे हैं और भविष्य में भी ऐसा होता रहेगा, क्योंकि 60% मार्जिन रखने वालों की क्रेडिबिलिटी इस समाज में रहेगी।
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Business 360. News and updates continue right here on CNBC TV18.